Welcome to the CompTIA A Plus Core 2 course, your gateway into the world of IT support and troubleshooting. In this course, I will walk you through all the key topics you need to know for the latest CompTIA A Plus Core 2 exam, based on the CompTIA Newest exam objectives. This course is beginner friendly but packed with essential skills you will need in real IT roles. To make learning easier and more engaging, I have included clear visuals, diagrams, and step by step breakdowns throughout the course, helping you understand complex concepts quickly and confidently. By the end, you will be ready to pass the exam and take your first step towards a successful career in IT. Let's get started. Our domain number 4 and the last domain is operational procedures. And our first objective 4.1 is given a scenario, implement best practices associated with documentation and support system information management. And the first topic is documentation and support systems, specifically the ticketing system. So what is a ticketing system? So a ticketing system is a centralized platform to track and manage all IT issues inside an organization. So this system ensures consistency, accountability, and faster resolution of the issues. So since this is a digital system, it also provides a history of previous incidents and issue for future reference. So what are some key information that are fed inside a ticket or inside an issue ticket? So the first and foremost mode is the user information, that is the user that lodges the complaint. So the user information may include the username, his or her contact details, the department to which the user belongs. Then is the device of the user that has the issue. It may include the device type, the operating system of the device tag, and the serial number. And lastly, the issue description. So this section includes the clear explanation of the issue and problem encountered by the user and his or her device. So what are some categories and severities of different issues? So the categories of the issues are the type of the issue that the user is encountering. So the issue may be related to the network, the hardware, the software, or some security issue. And the severity levels of the issues are: the serious most issue is the critical, which means the system is completely down and the business is halted due to the specific issue. Next is the high severity issues, which again includes a major disruption, but this issue may impact limited user, not all users of the organization. So the critical issue may have the complete breakdown of the system and may impact large or all the user of the organization and the complete halt of the business. The high again is a major disruption, but it may not impact all the user and it may have impacted limited number of users. Then the medium severity issue. So this is a non-critical issue related to some functionality loss inside the. So this does not hurt the complete business, but some function of the system. And the last one is the low severity issue, which is a minor issue that may impact a user, one or two or few users. So what are some escalation levels of issue? So each issue that is lodged at the ticketing system is escalated at per different levels. So the first level is the level 1, that is the help desk level. So this is the basic troubleshooting of each issue that is carried out by the help desk technician. And if the help desk uh, technician cannot resolve the issue, the next level is level 2, which is manned by the specialist. So this is these users are the specialists, have the deeper technical expertise, and when the issue cannot be resolved by the help desk technician, it is resolved by these technical specialists. If the issue is still unresolvable by the level 2, then it is referred to level 3, which refers to the vendor and engineering. So these are the issues that are then dealt by the vendor or the external support. So these are beyond the scope of the internal organization and are then referred to the vendor or for some external support. So it is critical that there is clear and concise communication inside the ticketing system. So the communication should be short and factual, and it should note down the issues in brief and should note the facts about the issues without any verbatim. And again, the progress of issues should also be noted at each step. And when the issue is finally resolved, the final resolution should also be noted down for future reference. And the ticketing system, the communication inside the ticketing system should be professional, and unnecessary jargon should be avoided, and simple, understandable language should be used. So an example of NIT support tickets. So these may be the field of the ticketing system. So this may vary from organization to organization, but this is a general layout. So the field may be the ticket ID, such as this one, the user information that lodged the complaint, such as the username, the department to which the user belongs, and some other information. The device of the user that is having issue, for example, the Dell laptop, the operating system of the device, and the device tag. Then the description of the issue. So in this case, let's suppose the device is having issue that it is unable to connect to the Wi-Fi since morning. The category of the issue is related to networking. Severity is high, so this affects the job productivity. The user cannot do his or her job. So the issue is assigned to the level 1, that is help desk. And again, the progress notes include that the network adapter was checked, the system was rebooted, but the issue was not fixed. Doing these checks, and the final resolution. So the final resolution was done at 9:45 a.m. and this was done by resetting the Wi-Fi driver, and the connection was then restored. So this is how a typical ticketing and IT support ticket works. Our next topic is the asset management inside an organization. Inventory list. So the inventory list basically maintain a detailed record of all hardware and software assets inside the organization. And these lists help with tracking, upgrades, and audits of these systems. Next is the configuration management database, that is CMDB. So what is CMDB? So this is a central database that stores the configuration, relationships, and dependencies of different systems, software, and hardware. And this CMDB is used to assess the impact of changes, and it maintains consistency since this database is referred for any configuration changes. Next is the asset tags and IDs. So these are unique identifiers such as barcodes, QR codes, or RFID tags that are given to the devices for their identification and tracking. So this simplifies the tags, basically simplifies the tracking, assignment, and recovery. Procurement life cycle basically covers the acquisition, deployment, maintenance, and retirement of the devices. software and hardware. So this is a complete life cycle of a device, you can say, and this ensures the cost efficiency and compliance with the organization policies. So next is the warranty and licensing. So this is used to track warranty periods for timely repairs and replacement, and it is used to maintain valid software licenses to avoid legal and security issues. So the license are basically assigned to users. So assets should be, we are talking here about license as well as assets. So assets should be linked to specific user for accountability, so that if there is loss or theft of the issue or some issues with the assets, there may be someone accountable for that asset. So this helps with troubleshooting and auditing of the resource usage. So again, this is an example of asset tracking visual. So the asset tracking system may have the asset tag, device information, the user to which the device is assigned, the warranty period or the warranty expiration of the device, and the location of the device. So for example, we have this tag of an asset HR-LTP-001. So this tag is assigned to a device that is Dell Latitude 5520, and this laptop or specific device is assigned to Emma Johnson, and the warranty of this device expires in December 2026, and this device or the user belongs to HR office. Similar is the case with other devices. So this is how assets are tracked, so that there is accountability and tracking of all the assets of organization, that the organization can know that which assets is assigned to which user for easy reference and accountability as well as tracking. So next topic is the types of IT documentation, and the first documentation type is the incident reports. So these are these documents basically record security or operational events, for example, malware and outages. So these documents basically includes what happened when the incident happened, which users were affected, and what steps were taken to resolve the issue or the incident. So these documents or these reports are useful for audits, prevention of future incidents, and for legal requirements. So next are the SOPs, that are standard operating procedures. So these are step-by-step instruction for consistent and repeatable tasks. For example, an SOP may be custom installation of a software package. So this SOP will detail step-by-step procedure of how to install a custom software package. So the SOPs basically help ensure standardization, compliance, and efficiency. The next document type is the onboarding checklist of new user. So this ensures that every new employee or new user has the required setup, and this checklist may include that the account creation of the user, hardware assignment to the user, software installation on the user device, and security training to the user if any required. So next is the user of boarding checklist. So this checklist and this type of documents protects company data when employees leave the organization, and this checklist may include the disabling of the user accounts, recovery of the device that was given or assigned to the user, revoking of the user access to sensitive systems, and archiving of the mail or files related to the user as needed. Next is the SLAs or service level agreements. So these documents basically define the expected performance and responsibility that are expected from different vendors and third parties. So internal SLAs are between department of the organization, for example, between the IT and HR department of the same organization, while external SLAs are basically with vendors and third party, for example, cloud provider uptime guarantee through an SLA document. Next is the knowledge base and article. So what are these documents? So these are centrally repository are of FAQ, that is frequently asked question, how to guide of different organization software and system, and different troubleshooting steps that are frequently encountered by the user. So these documents and article basically enable the user to self-service and resolve the different issue, and thus it reduces the burden on the help desk system. So again, this is a table for user life cycle checklist. So as we studied for onboarding, the checklist may include assigning the hardware to the user. The hardware may include the laptop, phone, some other accessories, creating the user account, installing required software for the user, applying security permissions and policy related to that user, and providing training and documentation to the user. The offboarding may include recovery of the company hardware. So these both are related. Again, disabling the account that were created, archiving the software or the mail and file that were given to the user, and removing the policies and the permission that were assigned or given to the user. And at the end, document the exit of the user in HR or IT system. So our objective 4.2 is given a scenario, apply change management procedures. So what are change management procedures? So the change management procedure is basically to document different business processes, and this includes that all changes inside organization systems, that maybe the hardware or software, should follow a formal process. So this documented business process or change management procedure, if followed, it ensures consistency, accountability, and minimal disruption to these business processes. So there should always be a rollback plan when any change is planned. So always plan to reward changes if something fails or change does not go as per the plan. For example, uninstalling a page that breaks the organization application. So this prevents extended downtime to the organization systems and processes. So what is the backup plan in the change management procedure? So always create a backup before major changes to the organization systems such as hardware and software. So this ensures that the data and system may be recovered if the change causes any unwanted issue. So these backup plan may include the taking the system images, taking the database dumps, or taking the file backups. So what is the sandbox testing? So these are to test changes in a controlled and isolated environment before applying them to the production environment. So the sandbox testing helps detect any issues before affecting the production environment. For example, applying updates in a virtual lab before company-wide rollout of the change. So next is the responsible staff members for the change management procedure. So the organization need to clearly assign ownership of all the changes, to define who approves, implements, and who monitors the changes, and this prevents confusion and ensure accountability. So assigning specific staff member to the change management procedure is very important. to prevent any confusion and ensure accountability. What are some change management elements? So the change management elements include, first one is the request form. So this is an official way to submit and track changes. And these form, the request submission form captures all required details for evaluation by the change management board or change management staff. So next is the purpose of the change. So this segment of, you can say, the change management form or request form explains why the change is required, why it is needed. For example, fixing a security flaw, upgrading an hardware, or enabling new features. So next element is the scope of the change. So this defines what system, user, or services will be affected by the change. So this helps estimate impact of the change and resources that are required for this change. So now coming over to some change types. So the change may be a standard change. So this is a low risk routine change. For example, printer driver updates. Next is normal change type. So this requires approval and this change may carry a moderate risk. For example, operating system page. And the third one is the emergency change, which is critical, require immediate action. For example, 0-day exploit fix. Date and time of change. So change freeze means no change is allowed during critical period such as holidays, maintenance window, so schedule time for planned updates. Affected system and impact of the change. So this clearly identify the hardware, software, user, and business processes that are involved and may be impacted by the change. So this prevents unexpected disruption. Risk analysis. So evaluate the risk level of the change to ascertain whether the risk that may be carried by the change is low, medium, or high. And also consider the likelihood of the risk, that how likely is the risk to occur and the impact of the risk if that risk takes place. Approvals and review. So the change board approval. So this board ensures the business and IT alignment. Peer review. So another technician validates the plan. And end user acceptance is that the end user confirm the change meets the user requirement. So the user that actually uses the system actually confirm that the required change is as per the need and requirement. So finally the implementation. So finally the change is applied as per the documented plan and the results are monitored and any outcome is documented. So now coming over to change management flow. So this is how the change management flow works. So the first step, we have the change request form. Then the change is reviewed and risk analysis is carried out. So the change is then approved by the change management board. The change is then tested and the test is carried out in a sandbox environment as well as a peer review is carried out. Then the change is basically implemented inside a maintenance windows. And lastly, the change is monitored and the acceptance from the end user that uses the system is taken. And finally, the change management procedure is closed and the outcome is documented. So objective 4.3, given a scenario, implement workstation backup and recovery methods. So what are some workstation backup methods? So these include the backup methods basically include the first one is the full backup. So this type of backup copies all files and data as the name indicate full backup. So this is the easiest to restore since all data is in one backup at one location. And downside of this type of backup is that this type of backup takes the most of the time, or it takes the longer time to carry out, and also it requires huge storage space. So next backup type is the incremental backup. So this backup copies only the file that are changed since the last backup. So the last backup may be full or incremental. So for example, you took a full backup at this point in time, then here you are taking the incremental backup. Let's suppose this is 0 time we are starting. So here you took the full backup. So now in the incremental backup, you will back up the file that are changed since this time period. It means the backup time and the backup size required will be low as compared to the full backup. So the pros of this backup include that it is fast and storage efficient, it is carried out quickly, and the storage required is also less. But the cons include that the restore requires the last full backup. So for example, now you want to restore at this point in time, so you will need this incremental backup as well as this full backup. So this backup requires the last full backup plus every incremental backup since the last full backup. So next backup type is the differential backup. So this copies file changes since the last full backup. And the pros of this backup is that it is faster restoration than the incremental backup, and it requires only full plus the last differential backup. So it requires two backups. The incremental backups, basically there are multiple incremental backups, so they require multiple backups to restore from the incremental backups, while the differential backup is taken after the full backup, so it requires only two backups, the full and the latest differential. And the cons again include that these are larger backups as compared to the incremental as time goes on. What is this synthetic full backup? So this type of backup creates a new full backup by combining the last full backup plus subsequent incremental backups, and there is no need to recopy the unchanged files from the source. Pros of this backup is the faster backup process, and this restores like a normal full backup. So some exam tips regarding the backup. So the fastest restoration can be carried out from the full backup, and fastest daily backup type is incremental. So fastest restoration is full backup, but fastest restoration is full backup, but fastest daily backup is incremental. So there is a balance between the speed and restore that is given by the differential. So the differential restore is slow than the full backup, but its backup is faster. Its restoration is slow than the full backup, but its backup time is faster than the full backup. So there is a balance between speed, uh, speed and restoration. Synthetic full is again smart way to refresh backups without redoing everything. So what are some workstation recovery and backup practices? So the recovery methods include in-place and override method, which restore data directly over existing files on the same machine. Another method is the alternative location, which restores backups to a different system or site for availability. Next are the recovery methods. So again, we studied this one. Next is the backup testing. So the frequency of the backup testing is to regularly test, restore to confirm the data integrity and usability of the backup, and this prevents false confidence in untested backups. What are some backup restoration schemes? So on-site versus off-site backup. So on-site is available for quick access, while off-site gives us the protection from the disaster on the on-site. What is the grandfather father son backup rule? So this means the son means you need to do the daily backup. Father is for weekly backups, and grandfather is to take the monthly backups. And what is the 3-2-1 backup rule? This rule means that the organization has 3 copies of data, and the 2 copies are on different media types. For example, one may be stored in the cloud and one may be on the tapes locally. And the one means that 1 copy of data is stored at alternate off site, so that if there is a disaster at the local data center, 1 copy of data is still available at the remote site. Objective 4.4, given a scenario, use common safety procedures. So using common safety procedures, and these include electrostatic discharge protection, ESD or electrostatic discharge straps. So these are worn on the wrist, such as this one, and clipped to an underground surface to prevent static charges. So this end is clipped to this a grounded surface, and the other end is worn on the wrist to prevent the static damages to the equipment. Next is the electrostatic discharge mats. So these are work surface mats that dissipate static electricity when handling components. Electrical safety, and these safety include equipment grounding. So always ensure that stray electrical current flows safely to the ground, and avoid working on live circuit unless necessary. And it is very important to always disconnect power before servicing the electrical equipment. Next is the proper component handling and storage. So hold circuit boards by the edge to avoid static contact, and store sensitive components like RAM, CPU, and expansion cards in protective containers. Cable management. So the cable management is used to organize and secure cables to prevent tripping hazards, and this also reduces strain on ports and improper airflow inside systems. Anti-static bags. So these are used to transport and store sensitive components such as RAM, CPU, etc., and they protect against static discharge during handling. Compliance with regulation. So follow the OSHA, that is Occupational Safety and Health Administration rules inside the US, and dispose of electronics properly according to the EPA or local environmental laws. What are some personal safety guidelines? So these include to disconnect power before repair. So always unplug your PC or remove the battery before opening the case. This prevents electrical shock and damage to the components. The proper lifting technique. So bend at the knees, not at the waist. So this one is the correct method. Keep heavy equipment close to the body and ask for help when lifting servers, UPS units, or large printers. Fire safety. So keep a Class C fire extinguisher which is safe for electrical fires nearby. and never use water on electrical fires. So no emergency exits and procedures in case of fires. Always use the safety goggles. So these protect eyes when working with tools, compressed air or cutting components. And use the air filter mask. So use when cleaning dusty PCs or server rooms. This prevents inhalation of harmful dust and particles. So what are some personal safety do's and don'ts? And the checklist of do include to always disconnect the power before repair, to use proper lifting technique, to keep a Class C fire extinguisher handy, to wear safety goggles when working with tools and dust, and to use an air filter mask when cleaning dusty PCs. What are some don'ts? To work on a live system that may contain the risk of shock and damage. Lift heavy equipment alone if unsafe. Use water on electrical fires. Ignore protective gear such as gloves, goggles, and masks, and leave cables and tools scattered, which may become trip hazard. Objective 4.5 summarize environmental impacts and local environmental controls. So, what are some environmental impacts and controls? So MSDS documentation. So always follow the MSDS documentation, that is material safety data sheet for safe handling and disposal, such as this one. Dispose of batteries properly to avoid fire and toxic leaks inside the battery. Recycle toner cartridges responsibly and use e-waste channel for PCs, printers and other assets. So what are some environmental controls? So maintain correct temperature and humidity for the equipment. Ensure proper ventilation and airflow in the work areas. Place equipment in stable and dust-free environments and perform regular dust cleaning using compressed air or vacuums. Power problems. So some power problems include the surges. So these are the sudden spike in the voltage which can damage the electrical and IT equipments. Brownout are the temporary drop in the voltage. So these two are opposite to each other and this causes instability and crashes, while the blackout are complete prolonged power loss and this may result in data loss and hardware risk. So what are some protection against the power problems? And the first one is the UPS, that is uninterrupted power supply. So this provides temporary backup power during outages and it prevents data loss by allowing safe shutdown and it often includes surge protection features. Next is the surge suppressor. So this protects against voltage spikes and it should be rated in joules. So the higher the rating, the better the protection. And it is essential for PCs, network equipment, and sensitive electronics components. So objective 4.6 explain the importance of prohibited content, activity, and privacy licensing and policy concepts. So, what are some prohibited content, privacy, licensing, and policy concepts? So, the first one is the incident response. So, the incident response should have the chain of custody which ensure that the evidence is tracked, secured, and unaltered. Next is the information management and law to inform the management or law enforcement if required to copy the drive. So this preserve data integrity and to never alter the original. What does this mean? This means that there is some data or evidence inside hard drive So you need to copy the exact data of that hard drive to another drive to always use the backup data for any analysis and to always never alter the original drive. Next is the incident documentation. So this records the steps, actions, and findings inside the incident. Next is the order of volatility. This ensures to collect most volatile data first. For example, RAM, cache, logs, disk, and backup. So these are the different components that contains data as per their volatility. So for example, RAM is more volatile than disk because the data in RAM is gone when the power is gone. So you need to preserve the data inside RAM first because the data inside the disk it does not go with the power and it may be preserved after the volatile data is preserved first. Next is the licensing and DRM. So valid licenses are required for all software that are used inside the organization. Perpetual licenses are the one-time purchase and lifetime use, and these are version limited. Personal use versus corporate use. So the terms of the license may differ for business environment from as compared to the personal use. Open source licenses are free to use and modify, but must follow the licensing term. And DRM, that is digital rights management, controls the copying and distribution of different software. Confidentiality and legal agreements. So these include the NDA and MNDA. So legal contract, these are basically the legal contracts that prevent information disclosure. For example, NDA is non-disclosure agreement, and these protect business secrets, client data, and internal processes. So these are basically carried out with internal employees, so that if one of employees leave the organization, they are bound by this NDA to not disclose the secret of this organization to other organization and competitors. Regulated data include the credit card information, which is regulated through this PCI DSS regulation, that is payment card industry and data security standard. Government issued IDs such as passport, social security number, national identity. I don't know what does this means exactly. PII, personally identifiable information that may contain names, addresses, phone numbers. Healthcare data which are regulated under HIPAA and GDPR, and retention requirement of the data. They are as per law. The laws basically define that for how long data must be stored and retained by the organization. So next is the acceptable use and compliance. So what is acceptable use policy or AUP? So this policy defines what are allowed and what are not allowed user actions. So for example, the user may be restricted to download, they may be prohibited from harassment of co-workers, and similarly misuse of the equipment as well as application. Compliance means to follow certain rules and regulation, compliance with certain policies such as the European Union law GDPR, HIPAA, which is health related law inside US that deals with the protection of patients' health data, and SOX is again a finance related law inside US, and the organization may have some internal policies compliance against which may be mandatory. Similarly, splash screens. So splash screens are used to remind users of different organization policies and legal accountability before they log into the systems. So now let's study a case study where a pirated software is installed on a work PC by an employee. So the scenario is that an employee installs pirated software from an unofficial source on their company laptop. Shortly after, the system shows malware symptoms such as slow performance and pop-ups. So how will the organization deal with this scenario. So the incident response steps that will be taken in such a scenario are as such. First one is the reports and escalation. So the employee first of all reports the issue. The IT department documents the issue in the ticketing system. Next is the containment of the issue. So this step involved to disconnect the affected device from the network to prevent the spread of the malware. Next step would be of the evidence handling. So the affected PC hard drive is needed to be copied through forensic imaging and to maintain a chain of custody of this evidence. Next step is the investigation. So identify the malware source, where the malware came from. It was actually a pirated software. Next step would be eradication and recovery. So this step involves removing the malware from the infected systems, reinstalling the operating system if required, and restoring the data from the backup. Disciplinary and policy action. So last step would be to inform management, remind employee of the acceptable use policy, which include do not install or use any unauthorized or pirated software. So what are the lessons learned from this case study? These are unauthorized and pirated software should not be used. Security and the unauthorized and pirated software are security and compliance risk. Next lesson is the importance of valid licenses and software asset management. That is to use licensed software and keep track of the software through asset management. And next lesson is to reinforce user education on acceptable use policy of their equipment and to ensure software compliance. Objective 4.7, given a scenario, use proper communication techniques and professionalism. So professional communication and customer services. So professionalism and appearance is the first point. So the employees need to match the attire as per the workplace policies and requirement. This may be formal, such as the corporate and finance, or business casual, such as in tech and support, and to maintain a professional look to build trust with the customers. Similarly, the language and attitude of the employees is also important. It is of utmost importance to use clear and simple language and to avoid jargon, acronyms, or slangs, and to stay positive, calm, and confident during interactions with customers, and to actively listen, to let customers speak and don't interrupt them while they are speaking. Similarly, cultural sensitivity and respect, to be respectful of different cultural differences, and to use correct professional titles designation when addressing customers from different backgrounds. Punctuality and focus, so always be on time, and if late, to notify the customer, to avoid distractions, no personal calls, text, or browsing social media during interaction or meeting. So how to handle difficult situations? So in difficult situations, the employee need to stay calm, to don't argue, dismiss, or be judgmental, and to clarify issues, ask open-ended questions, restate the problems for the understanding, and to keep discussion discreet and professional. Setting expectations and follow up. So to communicate timelines and repair replacement options clearly, provide proper documentation of the work that has been performed, and to follow up later to confirm customer satisfaction. Protecting the confidentiality, so always respect and secure sensitive material like files, document, and devices, and to never disclose or mishandle the customer information. Objective 4.8 explain the basics of scripting. So what are some basics of scripting? So some use cases of scripting. So scripting is basically used for basic automation. So the repetitive tasks that are performed on daily basis, they can be automated through scripting. For simplification, to restart different machines, so automated reboots and shutdown can be done through scripting at predefined times. For example, at night when there are no user using the system, or at off hours. For remapping the network drive, so scripting can also be used to reconnect drives when a user logs in each time. For application installation, so scripting can be used for bulk software deployments. Automated backup, so scripting can be used for scheduled file and system backups. Data gathering, so for gathering logs, system information, or usage reports, this can be done through this scripting and can be automated through scripts. Similarly, initiating update, so automated patching or updates can be done through scripting. So now coming over to some script file types. First one is .bat or batch files. So these are Windows command line automation. The batch files are used in Windows automation. Next is .psl. So these are PowerShell scripts. Again, these are Windows administrative scripts that are used for different administrative tasks inside Windows. Next is .vbs, which is Visual Basic Script, and this was used in previous and old Windows version in legacy for legacy Windows scripting. .sh is shell script, so these are Linux and Unix scripting for different Unix and Linux automation tasks. Next is .js, which is JavaScript. It is used for web and cross-platform automation. And the last one is .py, which is Python script. These are general purpose and powerful automation and data handling script done through Python language. So some other considerations. So there are risk of unintentionally introducing malware if the script source is untrusted. For example, if you download the script online from an unknown source, this may involve the risk of introducing malware inside your system. So always check the script before running or download the script from a trusted source. Similarly, script may also change the system settings incorrectly if the scripts are poorly written, or if the scripts are downloaded again from some source and not tested beforehand. Similarly, they can also cause the browser or system crashes by misusing the memory or system resources. So always test scripts in a safe environment before their use on production environment. So now a quick reference for different script file types. So as we studied, .bat is used in Windows platform on CMD CLI, and they are typically used for simple automation, launching different programs, and remapping drives. .psl is again Windows, and these are PowerShell scripts, and they are used for advanced system administration tasks, automation, and security scripts. .vbs is again Windows script, but they are legacy and was used in older Windows version. They were used for older automation tasks and for different login scripts. .sh is used inside Linux and Unix, and these are Bash and shell scripts, and they are used for server automation, backups, and software installations. .js is JavaScript, and they are used in cross-platform, for example, browser and Node.js. and they are typically used for web scripting and automation in browser or different applications. And .py are Python scripts, and they are also used cross-platform and through Python interpreter, and they are used for complex automation, data processing, and system management. So coming over to objective 4.9, given a scenario, use remote access technologies. So some remote access technologies and tools include, the first one is the RDP or remote desktop protocol. So this is basically used in Windows. It is a Windows protocol that is used for remote access of Windows machine or Windows desktop. Next is the VPN or virtual private network. So this is for secure tunneling for remote network access. So for example, if a company employs at one location and their headquarters is in another country, so the employee can use VPN to access the secure network, and this VPN basically create a secure encrypted tunnel between the employee machine and the company headquarters, so that no unauthorized user or company can eavesdrop on this secure data. Next is the VNC, which is virtual network computing. It is a cloud cross-platform graphical desktop sharing. Next is the SSH, which is a secure, stands for secure shell. So again, it is an encrypted remote command line access tool, and it is mainly used to administer Linux and Unix system and network devices. It is basically a CLI or command line interface tool to remotely manage and configure different devices such as Linux server or Windows or network switches, routers, and firewalls. Next is the RMM, which is remote monitoring and management. So it is IT management of multiple endpoints. Next is SPICE, which is simple protocol for independent computing environment. So it gives us the virtual machine display and control protocol. It is a control protocol for virtual machine access. WinRM is Windows remote management, which is Windows command line or PowerShell remote management. So now some third-party remote access tools. These tools may have the feature of screen sharing, and one example of this tool, remote screen sharing, is TeamViewer and AnyDesk. These are two popular tools that can be used for remote control of any device that also includes the screen sharing. Next are the third-party tool include for the video conferencing, and the populars are the Zoom and the Microsoft Teams. For file transfer, we have the file transfer protocol and secure file transfer protocol clients, different clients developed by different companies. And then we have desktop management, and these tools include Logman, Chrome, Remote Desktop. Now, some security consideration for these remote access technology and tools. So for RDP, the RDP, you must use a strong password and multi-factor authentication, and the remote access should only be restricted to trusted IP addresses. So the VPN should use strong encryption algorithm such as IPsec and SSL. So there is a risk if the credentials are stolen. So let's suppose if the VPN client credential, which are in most cases username and password, if these are stolen, so there is a risk of misuse of these credentials. For VNC, it often uses weak encryption, so it should be used with VPN and tunneling for secure communication. So SSH is strong, but again vulnerable if the keys of the SSH or the passwords are compromised. RMM, for RMM, it should be ensured that the vendor's tool are secure, and the customer should also watch for supply chain risk so that the software is not compromised at any point during the supply chain. For spice, it is typically used inside secure virtual machines infrastructure, and WinRM, it encrypts traffic through HTTPS, and the user access should be restricted through permissions. And for third-party tools, you should rely on the provider's security and always validate the source of the tool, and the session that are initiated to these tools should be encrypted. So our objective 4.10 and the last objective of this course is explain basic concept related to artificial intelligence or AI. The basic concept of artificial intelligence or AI, application integration. So AI is embedded into application and services. For example, it is nowadays embedded into chatbots, into virtual assistants and in different fraud detection technologies. So this integration enhances automation, personalization, and decision making, and it is often integrated through APIs or cloud-based AI services. So the policies related to this integration and AI are include the appropriate use. So the organization must define when and how AI can be used responsibly. Similarly, plagiarism, AI-generated content may not be original, so user must cite sources or verify the output. So what are some limitations of using the AI? First one is the bias. So AI can inherit unfairness from training data. So if the training data has the bias, the AI system or chatbot will automatically inherit that bias. Hallucinations. So AI may generate information that sounds correct but is factually wrong. Accuracy, so the output depend on the data quality, so AI is not always 100% reliable. So what is the difference between the private versus the public AI? So the data security, so sensitive data may be at risk if shared with public AI tools, data sources. So public AI is trained on broad internet data, while private AI can use internal and curated data sets. Data privacy, so public AI may log inputs, while private and local AI can offer more control and confidentiality. So now some quick reference of the different. So this is not the reference for the script file types. This reference is for the AI tools and use of AI. So you can use this table for quick reference. So that's all for this course. Thank you for being with me throughout this journey. I hope it has been informative, and I hope it will help you in learning the different technology that we discuss in this course, and also help you pass the CompTIA A Plus certification. So please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and write in the comment that what next course you want me to compose and upload on my channel. See you soon in the next video.